Alrighty, folks, coming at you guys today with a version 1.9.2 patch notes update, breaking down these patch notes for you. Luckily, they are pretty brief. There's less balance changes in this set of patch notes than I thought there was going to be. 1.9 did shift the meta up a good bit, slowing it down significantly, returning the pacing back to the traditional MOBA style that we have missed, honestly, for the last couple of months. So 1.9's been great. 1.9.2, obviously we're expecting Bayle changes for sure because he was the new hero coming in 1.9. We're expecting potentially some rebalancing of the large list of changes they did in 1.9, but got a lot less than we were expecting. Let's get right into it. 1.9 is probably already live by the time you're seeing this. Goes live today, releasing November 4th. A little bit later getting this video out than I would have liked because I had a busy weekend, but we're back now. Had some good streams here the last couple of days in our return. Let's get right into it. Timestamps below to each of the parts. Hero balance changes being the biggest one, and then a couple item balance changes as well. Shouldn't take us too long to go through this, so let's go ahead and dive in. In 1.9, you can look forward to new skins. The new skins actually are pretty crazy for this one. Balance changes, bug fixes, nice and brief here. Here's the new skins. Kitty, Witch, Phase, whatever. I know they gotta get at least one skin in there, right? You know what I mean. They gotta get at least one of those type of skins in there. So hey, there it is. But these other two ones are quite cool. Akeron, Gideon, which when you first see that, it's the face of the patch. It's like, what even hero is that? That is Gideon with this crazy new, I'm assuming that's pronounced Akeron. A colon? I don't know. Maybe it's a colon. Anyway, Gideon, and then the same thing for Morn. This Morn one looks crazy. What in the world is going on with that Morn skin? So some pretty sweet epic skins coming. We'll see what their other effects are in game, like what Gideon's fireballs look like, or meteors, and what Morn's like ult looks like. Should be pretty interesting. But anyway, obviously not spending any money on skins in this game, but there they are, new bundles coming soon. Version 1.11 in January. They are doing basically Operation Health. If you, I'm sure not a lot of you guys played Rainbow Six Siege, but Operation Health was a patch that hit a couple years into the game's life cycle, maybe like a year and a half to 2 years into the game's life cycle, that really saved the game. It really fixed a lot of the issues that were going on in the game, bugs-wise and UI-wise and quality of life-wise. So that's kind of what's going on here with Predecessor. January version 1.11, health and stability, have your say. Operation Health for Predecessor will be a good one. They did a Discord post. I haven't been on it, but you can hop into this. Of course, these patch notes link below, so you can find this link pretty easily if you would like. But they're doing a Discord conversation, trying to poll players for what bugs they've seen that needs to be fixed, what UI stuff that they would like to see fixed the most. So look forward to that in 1.11. The Wolfsbane event has ended. It ended after Halloween. I think we got over 50%. Unfortunately, they didn't do a great job of communicating how this event ended to us. It just kind of, they did a post like a couple hours before the event ended, and they never did a wrap-up post. Let me see if I can actually find their Twitter real quick and see if they've done one since then. I kind of doubt that they have, but we can be hopeful, right? Yeah, so this was the night of Halloween was the last time that they communicated anything to us, and it was right here. So yeah, no, nothing too crazy on that front. But back to the patch notes. Here's what we're getting. Balance changes. We're still monitoring the general balance ecosystem as the dust continues to settle on the version 1.9 changes. As a result, this patch includes smaller changes aimed at ironing out some outliers and smoothing over some rough edges. We expect a larger set of balance changes to follow in the version 1.10, which of course it's going to be a big balance change set, right? We'll have a new hero and everything. And we'll further tackle feedback points that continue to develop over the coming weeks. That should be about 3 weeks away from now. Some minor ARAM balance is also included at the bottom of these notes, further refining the gameplay. So yeah, ARAM is staying in and it's getting a little bit of a tune-up. Overall game balance, kill XP. We're adjusting the experience rewards for kills between levels 9 to 16 to be slightly higher, meaning the rewards for killing higher level opponents are greater. This should make the ability to bounce back from an early game deficit slightly higher should your team manage to pick up a few kills. I'm always good with better rewards, both XP and gold wise, for kills. They're only changing them at some of the later levels here after level 9, right? Going up to 20 extra starting at level 9, so that's okay. You know, kill comeback XP, this is a big one. XP modifiers at -4, -3, -2, -1. This is the hero level difference that you are to them, are being adjusted so that... wait, are there any changes here? Am I missing something? Did they just... oh, there's 5% difference. That's the only change in this whole set. These changed in 1.9. Looks like the only change here is a 5% extra XP for killing someone who is 3 levels higher than you. That probably rarely happens anyway in a match, but a 5% extra XP. This was a really big change in 1.9 that kind of affected how difficult it was to come back from a 1-level deficit or a 2-level deficit against your solo laner. Drastically changing these 1 or 2 level difference numbers, but just 5% extra on killing someone who's 3 levels up on you is whatever. Minions, a couple minion changes here. Minion for melee, minion damage modifier increased from 90% to 95%, so the minions can kill other minions faster. Deal to enemy minions. Yeah, this is damage dealt to other minions. So that's nice. And then ranged minions, minion damage dealt increased from 115. So yeah, 5% bonus damage from ranged and melee minions on other minions. And then siege minions, T1 and T2 tower damage modifier decreased from 120% to 100%. So siege minions do less damage to towers. Which when they're damaged, they deal to towers. This is to reduce how threatening a lone siege minion can be to a tower. Yeah, no, a lone siege minion is not at all a threat to a tower, but alright, whatever. And that's it. That's the only general game balance changes we got. We've got some hero balance changes to go through, but that's it. So not a lot of changes here. Let's dive right into the hero balance changes. Not every hero is being touched, but yeah, it's like a little bit less than half of them, I guess I would say here, but let's get into them. Akeron. Akeron's been in a really strong spot. I think he's probably clearly a top 3 solo laner, does well in jungle as well, but just overtuned from a damage perspective. His Hellfire, the main damage ability, damage decreased per projectile by a little bit here, and more importantly, slow decreased by 1%, and then that means the max slow is decreased by 5%. This is really good. That slow is pretty crippling, and the damage is really absurd most of the time. The Weblash, Webshot bonus physical power scaling decreased. Slam power scaling decreased as well. But a little bit extra Webshot range, just a little bit. Hopefully this cleans up some of the inconsistencies for jumping onto walls and hitting roots when it looks like it's going to hit but doesn't quite hit. Hopefully this kind of cleans that up. And then Crushing Maul, his bite, which gives him healing and armor shred, getting a half-second longer cooldown is probably much needed because, man, that's it's pretty oppressive in solo lane when you build armor and he's just constantly shredding it off of that bite. Argus, getting a couple stat adjustments as far as his health scaling. Base health decreased at level 1 by 10, mana decreased by 40 at level 1, and mana growth increased, so to kind of offset that. So a little bit weaker early, a little bit less mana early. Won't be a super impactful change on Argus, I don't think. Aurora, her Boreal Sweep, getting a little bit extra scaling, and cooldowns changed to a half-second longer at the beginning of the game and a half-second shorter at the end of the game. Should be nice for those Aurora builds where you're building tank and not building huge cooldowns, or if you are building big cooldowns and big power, hit a little bit harder. Bayle, the highlight of 1.9, not been in the strongest spot. Some people are getting great use out of him. Shout out to Exiled for having a great time with him and showing us how it's done. Getting some changes across his kit here. I think he's been in a relatively weak spot. I think more people are going to get used to playing him and he's going to step into a stronger spot. But your build options are pretty limited on him right now because you almost have to go full tank to get any late game value out of him. Let's look at what they've done. The Swift Strikes, the third hit triggering augment. Third hit damage modifier decreased, unfortunately, and bonus attack speed decreased significantly. So that one hurts him. That one definitely hurts him. I have not been running this augment. I know Exiled has, and believes it to be the best one. It probably is the best one the majority of the time in winning trades in solo lane, but big nerf to that augment. Evidently, a meta feels it is quite strong as well. Berserk passive getting an increased in duration. I'm usually using the infinite Berserk augment, so this would not affect me. But if you are not using it, you get a second longer trigger time when you go below the health threshold. Cursed Edge, this is the triple swing with the stun attached to it. Bonus physical power scaling increased by 5%, and bleed bonus physical power scaling increased as well. This is good because it sometimes feels hard to get enough damage out on Bayle, even if you're building Earthshaker and stuff, but this will be a nice boost to that damage. The bleed damage basically getting a 50% bonus is quite nice. His Howl, his stem blocking window after activation decreased. I'm not sure what this means, to be honest. Blocking window, because it says after activation. So I'm not really sure if that's on the aggressor side or defender side of that, if that's on Bayle or on the person that he would be hitting with it. But the Omnivamp increased by 1% at all ranks is quite nice. It kind of accentuates how strong this Howl stem is. And then the Skull Crusher, his leap damage increased by 25 at the end of the game is quite nice. Physical power scaling increased as well. Leap range increased as well by a significant amount, a noticeable amount. Slam radius decreased by a slight amount though, and then cooldown decreased, which is quite nice for him in the late game by 1 second is decent. Channeling the leap early can now be buffered, removing the chance of dead inputs that could occur when the leap could be canceled out of. Okay, so can now be buffered. Okay, we'll see how that feels again. I don't think that'll feel too different, but I like the leap range increase on this. I like the damage increase on this. We'll see if this augment is what was making him more viable for the people that were using it. I think otherwise these buffs will kind of help him out. Extra scaling on the triple swing, extra hate, extra Omnivamp on the Howl, extra leap range. I think all of that will feel pretty good on him. So we'll see how Bayle does after this patch. Countess, Countess is one of the heroes that can find herself struggling in the version 1.9 environment. Countess is a fundamentally strong hero. The way her kit is laid out, you have really high potential to outplay people, do huge damage, all that kind of stuff, but she has had a poor win rate since 1.9, so Shadow Slip cooldown reduction increased if you're running that augment, which I'm usually not. Isolation damage increased if you're running that augment, which I'm usually not. I like the Blood Pool one. Physical power growth increased. Alright. Shadow Slip cooldown decreased is interesting. 1 second at all ranks. I mean, that's somewhat noticeable, right? And then Eventide damage increased. 10 at all ranks and scaling increased. That will make her feel quite good and do solid damage. We will see how Countess, if she can step back into where I believe she should be, just how strong her kit fundamentally is in 1.9.2. Drongo Rad Rounds getting a cooldown increase. It's just by a second. I guess it just prevents you from spamming Rad Rounds multiple times in a single engagement if you're not building haste, which is probably fair. I think Drongo's still in a great spot. All the carries are really tightly balanced. Feng Mao, I think he's been in a kind of okay spot. I think like general hero balance has been pretty good these last couple patches for sure. Hamstring damage increased just slightly, and then isolation damage bonus physical power scaling decreased. So it'll probably pretty much break even in the 1v1s because it's 2% scaling reduction on isolation. So not a big change there on Feng Mao. Greystone, not a big change. Health regen decreased. Health regen growth decreased. With his passive, you're not going to really have to worry about this too much. Kallari, he's been in probably too strong of a spot. Feels pretty oppressive to play against most games. Takedown cooldown reduction decreased if you're running the Executioner's augment. General health growth decrease is quite nice. Physical armor growth decrease, again, quite nice. If she's an assassin, she shouldn't be tanky. Basic attacks scaling decreased by 5% is kind of odd. As an assassin, generally they want them to have high scaling, even if it's at the cost of weaker base damage. So they're changing this around to actually have less scaling, also reducing the scaling on her daggers, and also reducing or damage decreased, the base damage decreased at early levels on her ultimate. So this is very slight changes, but probably will be noticeable. 5% auto attack scaling actually does kind of hurt, especially crit Kallari, right? Khaimera. My goodness, Khaimera, right? When have we ever seen a patch where Khaimera wasn't a top 3 jungler? We may potentially be in store for one here. I don't know. Is this enough to really take him out of that elite top win rate spot? Health decreased at level 1 by 10, and then health regen decreased by 0.4 at level 1. A little bit weaker level 1, not too much. Main thing here is Unleash on hit modifier decreased from 80 to 70. I don't think this really matters. I think this is like really... this is good for him. It does nerf Overlord on him, and Overlord itself as an item is also getting nerfed, so that kind of hurts. But realistically, I think the people that are building Sky Splitter and Rapture and those type of on-hit items shouldn't be, not to get the most out of them. You know, obviously if it works for you, it works for you, but you're really, the way his kit is laid out, you are not incentivized at all to build on-hit in combination with attack speed. You should be building 0 attack speed on Kai. I get it, tell me I'm wrong. Build your 2 or 3 attack speed items if you want, but in my opinion, you should never build a single attack speed item on Kai because of the way the Unleash functions. You're hampering your Unleash DPS, except for like Sky Splitter into tanks, you know, and stuff like that. So it is what it is. I don't think this change will affect much. I think he'll still be strong. He's still good at what he's good at, you know. Murdoch, physical power growth increased. This isn't a really big game changer. Late game, you're going to end up with a little bit extra power on Murdoch, but it won't make a huge change. Muriel, Alacrity, mana cost decrease. Muriel's mana management is kind of rough. And then the ultimate getting a little bit extra shielding at level 1 and 2. Really minor changes here, but solid helps Muriel out for sure. Rena, perfectly balanced, perfect, healthy for the game. We all love Rena. She always feels fair to play against, that's for sure. And I would never say anything negative about Rena. We're all very thankful she's still in the game. By the way, 78.7% ban rate with a 14% pick rate. That's only, what, 92% ranked representation. She cannot, under any circumstance, be perceived as overpowered, despite over 90% ranked participation. Vital Essence for Augment, bonus gold decreased. I don't really run this augment anyway. It's not the best augment, so the fact that it's getting nerfed is kind of odd. Physical power decreased at level 1. Who cares how much physical power she has at level 1? And her ultimate cooldown increased by 10 seconds. Again, not a big game changer. We're all just really thankful that Rena's in the game, and her being in the game makes it more fun, so don't do any more nerfs. This is actually kind of probably too excessive of nerfs. If anything, she needs a couple buffs of meta if you are listening. Revenant, move speed increased on his, when he hits the 4th shot, up to 25. I feel like it was way more than this before, right? Wasn't it like 35 or something crazy before? So this will probably feel better on him, right? Serath has been too strong recently. Serath is still oppressively good at what she's good at, immuning so much stuff with her teleport. Basic attack, physical power scaling decrease, similar to Kallari's, taking a big hit there. That's a sneakily big hit, even though it says only 5%. It really hurts these auto attack based heroes. And then Heaven's Fury, the primary. Again, we're seeing a base damage decrease late game, and then less on-hit scaling similar to Khaimera. So that's probably reasonable. I think both of these will be fairly noticeable. We'll see if that takes Serath down to a more balanced spot. Sevarog, health regen decreased at level 1, and mana decreased at level 1. Not a big deal. These are very minor changes, right? I don't think Sevarog's that strong at level 1 anyway, right? Skylar's been in a really strong spot. Atomized artillery augment. I actually like this. Damage per blast increased from 50 to 60%. If you are willing to run this augment to take the 3-shot ult, it should feel impactful, and I think that'll make it feel quite good. The Fae Harvest Nettles, they really hurt her Harvest Nettles with that minus 40% projectile speed reduction. It was still usable. I still had a lot of fun on Fae in 1.9. You just had to lead people with them a little more than I would like. At least they didn't decrease the range. You know, they've decreased the range before, and that feels a lot more penalizing. But either way, we're getting some projectile speed back on it, increased by 25%, is a solid change for her. Looking forward to that. Twin Blast. Twin Blast has been in a... I mean, all the carries are so tightly balanced, so it's hard to say he's been in a good or bad spot. I like the build diversity options on him, though. Mana increased at level 1 is quite nice. Mana regen growth increased as well is quite nice. And then his ultimate damage per bullet increased just by 1. If you're building crit and you're building high attack speed, that will, you know, lead to more damage, but not I mean, 1 per bullet is not that much, right? Wraith, finally some Wraith buffs, right? Wraith has been in a terrible spot. He's been unplayably bad. Very rarely can you get good matchups with him in carry or in support or in mid lane. Getting some nice changes here. Bonus gold decreased on the gold gain augment, which is probably fair, but it is the best augment, so what are you going to do there, I guess? We'll take the trade-off of what we get the rest of it. Peekaboo's grenade, base damage increased by 20 is quite solid. Physical power scaling increased by 10, and magical power scaling increased by 5 is quite solid. Surprise, surprise. The invis movement speed increased by 2%. At least makes the ability more useful, because rarely do you get good use out of it. Knock Knock, damage increased by 10 flat at all ranks prior to scaling. We'll take it for sure. And then the ultimate cooldown decreased in the early game by 10 seconds is not bad at all. Wukong, been in a weak spot since they did his last set of changes. Prosperous Pass, missing health healing increased. I don't think anybody's really running this. I guess some people are, but I wouldn't recommend it. The extra clones augment kind of feels the most usable most of the time. Health increased at level 1 by 10. Cycle Breaker, this is what it used to be projectile blocking, now it's damage reduction increase, and then damage reduction physical penetration scaling increased as well. So you get damage reduction instead of projectile blocking from this. Not nearly as good, but okay, you know, okay. Still has a stun attached to it. High impact cooldown decreased. He really doesn't need much shorter cooldowns, but a second shorter. His mana management makes it so that you can't spam these anyway. And then Wind Surge. This is the Wind Walk, or the dash, right? Cooldown decreased by a second at late game, and the same at level 1. So okay, it's just okay. I don't think this this fundamental cycle breaker change really messed up Wukong and how people were using him with that projectile immune. Zinx, mana increased at level 1, mana growth increased. Okay, that's not bad. Her passive decaying movement speed increased. Nice. That will feel very good. It used to be this strong, and it hasn't been in for a while, so we'll see if that feels better. Basic attack refibrillator fixed an issue where Zinx's basic attack targeting indicator. Okay, I never really saw that too much, but a little bug fix on her targeting indicator, and then her infuse healing, base healing increased by 5 at all ranks. Not bad changes for Zinx. Most of the range supports are kind of in a hit or miss spot. Depends on how you and your carrier are going to play in duo lane. But none of this hurts Zinx for sure. I think this puts Zinx in a good spot. So that's actually it for the hero changes. I think the biggest highlights are probably general Wraith damage buffs at the expense of 1 less gold per knock kill if you're running that augment, which you definitely should be. Fae Nettles speed is quite a noticeable one if you're like me and like to play Fae a lot. Serath and Kai both getting reduced on-hit effectiveness on their fast auto-attack type abilities, which probably brings them more in line. That may be one of the things that's making them both strong. Rena, thankfully, not getting any real significant nerfs, should still be just as strong as she is, which is good because she makes the game more fun. And that's about it. Kallari getting some slight tune downs in her scaling as well. But nothing too crazy other than that. Bayle, I guess, is the biggest overall set of changes because other these, I mean, Akeron getting the max slow, I think, on Akeron is pretty significant, and the little bit extra web range is pretty significant. Bayle getting the biggest set of changes as you would expect on a hero following their release. I think that third hit automatic augment is really taking a big hit there. I don't like that at all for him. But the rest of his kit getting some nice boost. Scaling increase on the triple hit is quite nice. Extra Omnivamp on the Howl is nice. And then extra leap range on the leap will feel quite good with a second shorter cooldown and in the late game. So we'll hop into him and see how that feels. That's the biggest change there. Serath and Khaimera stepping down. Rena, gonna still be Rena. Wraith getting a slight buff. And Zinx getting a slight buff is interesting. Let's hop into these item changes. There's not very many of them here, but there's something you need to be aware of if you're frequently building these items. Spectra, finally getting its ability haste increased to 15. I don't know why it hasn't been 15 all along. 12 is so goobery to give this random carry item 12 ability haste. 15 haste is solid. Radiant Strike's on-hit damage increased from 20 to 25. I will be enjoying this on my on-hit full attack speed Murdoch builds that I've been enjoying, and that's the only carry item change there, so a nice buff for Spectra. Not a very strong item right now by any means. Aegis of Agawar, in combination with Overlord, has been very strong, very prevalent. Agawar's protection low health armors decreased from 25 bonus to 20 bonus. Probably fair, 20 bonus is still quite a bit and will feel good compared to just the base bonus that you get from it. Overlord, though, taking a very sizable hit. 5 less on-card power, and then 0.5% less health built scaling into auto attack on hit. That definitely hurts it when you're on the big health build. I mean, you're talking about builds where you're building 2,000 health. 0.5% is significant less damage, and then 5 power on it as well. Definitely hurts it, but you're still going to be building Overlord Aegis of Agawar on most of those heroes that benefit from it. Keep in mind that, 10% less scaling on Khaimera's on hit with Unleash will apply to this, so it will hurt it even more, but still a good item if you're willing to play patient and get it online. Time Warp, something that's been very good since 1.9, giving it the extra haste really helped it out. Reducing its mana regen from 175 to 125. That's still like enough to be able to spam with it, but I kind of like that it was unique. I think this is a little significant. I think you could have taken it down to 150 and it would have been fine, but yeah, it's still the cooldown, the haste that it gives is still unmatched in the game, so it'll still be a solid item. Frosted Lure, I don't really know why they're taking the time to change Frosted Lure around, because I don't think anybody's building it. Damage max health scaling decreased. Okay. Shield from damage increased. Okay. Nobody's really building Frosted Lure, right? Can't imagine you're building Frosted Lure. And then these two items, which I wish I could see what they were, but their image is just straight up not loading. Let's see if I can reload the page and see what those items are. Time Warp, Frosted Lure. Okay, yep. Hexbound, base health regen decreased. That probably doesn't hurt it too much. It's still a decent item. And then Warp Stream, ultimate haste increase from 20 to 25. It probably should have been 25 all along. Still not a lot of people building Warp Stream for sure. Giving up your blink as an escape is not usually worth it, even for a shorter engage cooldown to use on your blink. Not really any big highlights. The Overlord nerf is the biggest highlight to talk about for sure in the item changes section. I think it'll still be built, but just slightly less effective, especially into the crazy late game scaling. And then that's all we have for hero and item balance. A couple ARAM changes here. Death timers at levels 11 and up are increased by 2 seconds. Okay, maybe that'll make games close out a little bit sooner, because you'll have more time in the later game to get a kill and then get forward. Towers, physical armor pin increased is great. This should be applied to towers in the normal game mode as well. Inner tower health decreased by 1,000. inhibitor health increased by 1,000. That's solid. I think that's a good change. I mean, it's just ARAM, so it's not like, I have too many crazy opinions on this. Minions, though, minion wave spawn interval decreased by 5 seconds is quite good. I think minions should constantly be flowing more frequently. Minion level up interval decreased, so minions are going to level up faster. All minions movement speed increased, levels 7 to 15 by a little bit. That's good. They've got a long wave to walk up. If they're spawning more frequently, leveling up more frequently, and moving faster, it'll just kind of push the game along a little bit better, which I quite like. One of my only complaints about ARAM is some of the games have been a little bit long. Just bring back Brawl. That's all we're asking you for, Meta. Bring back Brawl. We'll play it. I'll play it, man. I will play Brawl, because it was always fun to hop into a game that was going to be over in like 12 minutes. Like, that was it. You weren't going to have games that barely ever went longer than that. A couple bug fixes, nothing too crazy. That's a wrap. Thanks for reading. We hope you enjoy these changes. As always, we'll be watching for your feedback once the update launches. Stay tuned for version 1.10. We definitely will be looking forward to that. It's coming very soon. There's a lot in the works. Don't forget to join the submissions for the health patch. More details here. Until next time. So looking forward to Operation Health, too, for sure. Shout that out again. That was a nice one. And that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts on 1.9.2. I went through this a little bit slower than I would have liked. This is not a very big set of patch notes. This full list linked below in the description if you want to come down. Go down there and check out this page for yourself. But I mean, I just walked through all of it for you, and it really was not that much. Timestamps below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Were any of these changes too much? Did your favorite hero get nerfed? Did they get buffs? What do you think you would have liked to see in the general gameplay balance that we didn't see? All we saw was some XP adjustments and some slight minion damage adjustments, which I think are probably for the better, but there's some other stuff that I probably could, say some bigger issues that maybe won't get addressed till Operation Health that I would have liked to seen. I think Akeron, Khaimera, Serath nerfs, all very much warranted. A couple item nerfs were probably warranted. These skins are pretty cool too. I'll give you credit. These are some nice skins. Shout out to getting at least one somewhat revealing skin in there. We know how you got to do it, Meta. Make that money, man. Make that money. We will catch you guys on the stream tonight. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Come hang out with us. We'll be trying out 1.9.2 live. Check out some of these hero balances. See if they are noticeable or not. Thanks for all the support on the channel. Getting close to 800 subs here. Couldn't do it without you guys. Join the Cove today, and we'll catch you guys in the live streams. Thanks for watching, and keep enjoying Pred, folks. Just keep enjoying Pred.